Hello, everybody, and welcome to Life Uncorked, first episode of a very interesting series coming your way. We'll be talking about all kinds of topics to share, to laugh, to grow together. And today we will be breaking the silence, unveiling the truth about menopause. Today in the room with me, I have two amazing guests. Do please go ahead and introduce yourselves. Jackie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie. I'm one of the co hosts of Life Uncorked. And like Raffy said, we will be lifting the veil over menopause. So stay with us and see what you can learn and take away. Especially if you're going through it, we have a very esteemed healthcare professional to tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly about menopause. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Matthew Kagwisagye. He is practicing at the Maristops Hospital. And Dr. Matthew, I hope you don't mind us calling you Dr. Matthew.
No, it's not a problem.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, thank you, viewers, for logging into this interesting platform. I'm Dr. Matthew Kagwisagye, like Jackie said. I work at Maristops Hospital. I've been a gynecologist and obstetrician for the last 2 years, but I've been in the field of maternal health for about the past 8 years. So I'm compassionate about maternal health at every stage of a woman's development, from the time she's a little girl to the menopause. And this is a very interesting topic and one that is on the rise, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matthew. Lovely to have you both. And I'm Raffy, co-hosting Life Uncorked, a dream that's been in the pipeline for some time, Jackie, and we're very, very happy to be here together to finally be able to share and hopefully have women mirror themselves in some of the experiences that we've been through. I like the fact that Dr. Matthew says a woman's journey from when she's a little girl to when she's a more mature woman. And women do undergo so many seasons in their lives, so many changes. And that's if you're undergoing a journey that is a relatively healthy one. If you then enter into complications, if you have different issues, those will impact even further. And I talk from personal experience, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well, because sometimes it's really challenging for women. They can get lost, they can feel very lonely and isolated, very afraid, if they're not given, a platform to air their woes and concerns, a sounding board, different solutions, sometimes even just a kind ear, someone who will listen to them, because very often you feel you're going a little bit cuckoo in your own mind when you're going through certain phases of all this and you're not even sure. So, Jackie, who's very good at putting things not only into perspective, but also numbers. So looking at the facts. Mm-hmm. Jackie, you have this statistic for us, which alone can start off this conversation.
Yeah. So we did a bit of reading, and I came across this number, and I was like, what? And it says over 1 billion women will experience menopause by 2050, but it still remains a taboo topic. And for me, that was like, hang on a minute, 1 billion of us by 2050, and we still don't have enough places to talk openly and comfortably about menopause. It's still something people want to talk about behind closed doors, maybe between a very small group of people. I'm very sorry for those of you who take offense, but today we are going to be putting some of these things out in the open. And I think we need to discuss it. It is what it is. So in the next 2 episodes, we're going to be covering a range of things related to menopause, and hopefully we will give people enough of a grounding to then be able to go and seek more information. And if you're going through either perimenopause or menopause, you'll then be able to go and have a conversation with your service provider. Right. If you have a GP, I think in Uganda we've forgotten about general physician. We tend to go to specialists. But
Right.
whoever you
But
go
they're
to,
there. The general physicians are there.
Yeah.
GPs, the medical doctors, they call them general doctors in many spheres.
Exactly. But I think just to get us started, maybe let's define what is menopause, because we might be talking about menopause, but if somebody doesn't know or doesn't quite understand, how would I be able to know I'm in menopause? What would tell me, or what would show me? What signs, what symptoms do I need to observe?
So I think I can take on that. Menopause generally is the point in the continuum of a woman's life whereby there is cessation of her reproductive life. It's characterized by a halt in her in her monthly menstrual periods. So usually it's a diagnosis that is made in retrospect. You cannot you cannot determine that a woman is in menopause if at least you've not observed 12 consecutive months of having no menstrual periods. So generally, it's a point in life whereby you've confirmed that she's no longer having menstrual periods, and generally, it shows that she's out of her childbearing age. However, with the new technologies that have come in, with assisted reproduction, childbearing is still possible. But however, the natural way of childbearing at menopause has ceased.
And I'm okay to say that I'm going through menopause, and I, a lot of times people think menopause is mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, but I think there is more to it.
Yes.
I was reading an article. I think Oprah Winfrey did a series, and she had a couple of doctors. I think it was, I don't remember how many episodes they were, but they were able to document, I think, over 70 different symptoms or things that women were saying they were going through that were eventually linked to menopause. So, what should a woman be looking out for that tells her that this is most likely menopause? And how can I confirm it? Is there a test I can do? What do I need to do?
Okay, generally menopause occurs, the natural menopause. It occurs between the ages of 45 and 55. Generally, if you read through a varied number of reports, especially credible reports from the WHO, that is the range. So most women between 45 and 55 um, undergo menopause. However, there is menopause can occur much later than that or much earlier. Uh, there is also there's also menopause that can occur because of different conditions. For example, surgical interventions like bilateral, both ovaries being removed, a woman will have the menopausal symptoms. However, um, symptoms that would have come naturally later, but they come because of that surgical intervention. Other conditions like cancer, chemotherapy, treatment for cancer, some of those drugs might affect the function of the ovaries, so the normal development of the eggs or the follicles might be disrupted, as well as radiation therapy, and also some disease conditions, some cancers, HIV. HIV can also contribute to that happening at an earlier stage. However, there is also a very big genetic component to this. So there are some families, there are some first degree relatives usually who have a similar uh, onset of menopause. It might happen earlier, even earlier than the 40s. About 1% of the population might have menopause below the age of 40. So, like like Jackie said, that she's probably experiencing menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is what she also talked about, a phase called perimenopause. So perimenopause is premenopause, before menopause, and also postmenopause, after menopause. So usually those symptoms, the menopausal symptoms, could come much earlier than, and even spend even more than 10 years before you actually go through the cessation of your menstrual periods. So the so that means a woman can start experiencing the menopausal symptoms as early as 10 years before the menopause. So this, she hit on some symptoms like the hot flashes, the mood swings, the sleep disturbances, the the you it's called memory fog.
Brain fog.
Brain
Brain
fog.
fog.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yes.
Gets you every time.
Yes.
Yeah. So like the forgetfulness, you forget where your keys are, you forget where your phone is, you forget something on your to-do list. Yeah, something like that. So those are some of the symptoms. Then there are other symptoms like this the physical symptoms like the bone pains, the muscle pains. There are also urogenital symptoms, symptoms affecting the urinary system and also the reproductive system. These are usually atrophic symptoms. In simple terms, atrophy means like there's degeneration of those organ systems. In that, for example, you might have issues like organ prolapse. Some women might experience prolapse, like they feel like probably the uterus is dropping out of their pelvis. They can experience things like sexual dysfunction and having painful sexual dysfunction, vaginal dryness, itching, irritation. Those are some of the genital symptoms. Then the others like psychogenic symptoms like anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances like insomnia, sleep apnea could all come into the continuum. So it's a very huge barrage of symptoms just pointing towards one woman. So if you can, um, however, there's that small percentage of women who might not experience some of those symptoms or experience them for a short period of time. So, for example, the hot flashes, these are grouped in the vasomotor symptoms. There are some ladies who can have them for 1 year, others can have them as much as 6 years on average, but there are some who can have them even as far as 15 years into menopause. So it's something that we need a lot of counseling, a lot of group support for cognitive behavioral therapy. A lot of counseling and talking has to be brought into the picture.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
and I think, if I may, so I did a little bit of research, and this barrage of symptoms, as you were saying, Dr. Matthew, so I've been looking up names by which either groups, forums, or individuals have labeled this time, the perimenopausal journey. It's known as the change. The baby factory has closed. Helopause. The night crawlers. Ovarian retirement. Private summer. Murder pause. Gland finale.
Gland finale.
Gland finale. So these are just some of the names that women, and this is also a coping
There's the other ones,
mechanism.
something.
Oh, and then, see, because we're diligent, we actually discovered the term climateric.
Climacteric.
Yes, so we've been learning all these new expressions to sort of group this whole experience. And so it was really interesting to see. And I've also discovered through personal relationships that while some women really suffer through menopause, For others, it's time for celebration. Women with fibroids or very, very heavy bleeding, that you can't even leave the house for 2 or 3 days at a time. When this gland finale comes about, they're in full celebration mode, but they've also struggled to reach that. So as you were saying, there's just so much to be talked about, discovered, and understood, because it's also a very, very personal journey, isn't it? And
And I'm just thinking that I want us to take a break because Mary Stops has very kindly provided us with Dr. Matthew. So we do have a message from Mary Stops. So we'll be back after listening to that message.
To every woman, no matter who you are, we understand the joys and the frustrations your body can cause. From your first period, to a heavy period, to no period. From deciding family planning pills, injections, or implants, to trying for your first child. From treating infections, to thinking about cancer prevention, to embracing the changes as you become an ever-evolving version of yourself. We are here to lend a helping hand and help you thrive at every stage. Despite all the changes, your goals can remain certain. All it takes are brave, confident choices. WhatsApp us today on 0707 71301 or call 0800 120 333, toll free to find the clinic nearest you. And allow one of our discreet, trained staff to help you feel healthier and happier every step of the way. Mary Stopes.
For every stage of woman.
And we are back. Welcome back. With us is Dr. Matthew Kagwisagye from the Mary Stops Hospital and Raffy, our co-host for the Life Uncorked podcast. And we are talking about menopause and trying to demystify what menopause is. We had previously talked about the fact that the symptoms come in so many shapes, sizes, forms. It's different for every woman. Some people have fairly mild presentation of these symptoms. Others have the worst, like the extreme end of the scale, and everything in between. But the issue here is that we want to be able to become aware of what we should be looking out for, and then be able to go and get the help that we need. Yeah. And there are some myths that we want to debunk, Doctor. One of them is nothing can be done to change the symptoms. You just have to deal or live with them. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Sorry. About the management of menopausal symptoms. The American Society on Menopause. We are blessed that we have developed nations that actually have societies for such. I know for us in Uganda we might not be there yet, but surely we should get there in the next years to come. So they agreed through a statement in 2022 that majorly menopausal management of menopause should be focused towards diminishing disruptive symptoms, symptoms that actually affect a woman's quality of life, her functionality as a woman, both at home, within a relationship, and also at the workplace. And also the other prong of the management is also minimizing complications, because there are documented complications attributed to the atrophic, to the degenerative features of menopause that actually pose a health risk to these women. And these changes can actually be slowed down or actually reversed to some extent. For example, the progressive weakening of the bones, medically called osteoporosis. Yeah, this can be slowed down through hormonal replacement therapy, vitamin D and calcium supplementation, and a various amount of medications. So, in simple terms, I just want to say that actually something can be done.
Okay.
Actually, a lot can be done. However, it has to be within the guidance of a professional. Yeah. So there is treatment for menopause.
I'm glad you mentioned hormone therapy because it seems to be controversial. Some people say if you do the hormone therapy, then you're putting yourself at increased risk for various cancers, and I don't know that this is true because you can't believe everything you read, but I read somewhere that might have been the case for synthetic hormones, which were used initially in this therapy, but now we have gone to what they call bioidentical hormone therapy, which means they mimic what would be naturally in your body. And so maybe that's another myth we need to debunk, that hormone therapy is dangerous and that your symptoms are not bad enough for you to go and see a doctor to ask for this therapy. So maybe you can walk us through what's available, and let people know what the choices are, what choices they have in regard to hormone therapy.
Okay, so in as far as menopausal hormonal therapy is concerned, um, there's no standard. There's no standard of care or management of that. However, the general consensus is that it should not be. It should actually be taken for the shortest time possible during menopause, and also at the lowest dose possible, so that we can minimize the complications talked about, uh, like stroke and also issues with coagulation, because with these hormones they increase the viscosity of the blood. So especially those that have estrogen in it, because estrogen is actually the hormone that you're trying to replace. But having estrogen in the system for a very long period of time will have a lot of complications. So the consensus is that menopausal monotherapy should be started at least within the first 10 years of menopause, and then not extended beyond 60 years. Because usually what we want to manage are the debilitating symptoms of uh, the vasomotor symptoms generally, the hot flashes and the night sweats, because usually that's what really uh, disrupts a woman's life. Yeah. So usually, be if you manage quite well between that time and at the lowest dose possible, surely you should be able to alleviate the symptoms and also avoid complications. Yeah.
And then the one which everybody shies away, but we all know we go through it, sex. So the myth that after menopause sex is impossible and it's going to completely destroy your sex life. I know you talked about one of the symptoms being vaginal dryness, maybe even painful sex. What can... Okay, it is a myth, it's out there. So what can you tell us about... Yes, does it exist? What can people do about it if they are experiencing those symptoms?
Okay, so the atrophic changes of menopause truly exist. The vaginal dryness, the lack of the muscle tone, to have the sex to be enjoyable and less dysfunctional is actually very true. There's actually uh, because of those symptoms, it might force a lady to become less interested in having sex. However, because of the imbalance within a lady's body, estrogen has reduced significantly, but testosterone, which is the male hormone, is actually still up there.
So we're more aggressive.
Yeah, so actually you're more aggressive, even your sex drive increases. So because of that, probably in attempting to have sex during that time, we might actually have those issues like the painful sex, the vaginal dryness, causing a lot of ladies to have issues during that time, in as far as sex is concerned. So usually hormonal replacement therapy can also be very, very essential in alleviating these symptoms. There are different ways, different modalities that have been brought on board to deliver these hormones sustainably into the body in a safer way, and also in adequate amounts to alleviate these symptoms. For example, there are vaginal rings, there are vaginal gels, there are patches. There are also tablets that can be taken which can help to relieve these symptoms. So it is an issue that actually affects a lot of ladies, but it's something that your gynecologist can actually help alleviate.
Cool. Raffy, I don't know whether you want to ask about management of menopause.
Well, I think since we are debunking misconceptions, number one, menopause is not just women being more aggressive with a couple of hot flashes. It's so much more, and it can impact us personally within our relationships within work. We're now looking at how we can manage this best. And number one, another misconception that we are debunking right now is you have the right to ask for help, right? You shouldn't just wallow in your own misery and go deeper and deeper into this dark well of despair, which is sometimes, in all honesty, what it feels like when you're going through it. And so how can we best manage this? What should we be looking at different levels, whether we want to approach it spiritually, medically, through our eating, through exercise? What would you advise, Dr. Matthew?
Okay. Like I said previously, the first prong of management is actually to diminish the disruptive symptoms. So actually, in this way, we have two ways of managing, various ways of managing this. We can have the hormonal therapy, and then the non-hormonal medications to manage these symptoms. Like I touched on previously, the hormonal therapy is one of the first options that we have, because the major complication is brought about by lack or diminished levels of estrogen. So replacing that hormone majorly alleviates many of these symptoms. Then there are the non-hormonal therapies, like there are vitamin supplements, like the vitamin B group. Generally, there are formulations that have a vast amount of these vitamins and minerals that are essential. The omega-3 oils can also work. There are also medications that can be used to treat the psychogenic disorders like the anxiety, the depression, things like the serotonin reuptake inhibitors like fluoxetine, other drugs that help with neural health like oxybutynin, gabapentin. They are all drugs that can be used to manage these symptoms, aside from the hormonal therapy.
Okay.
Then there are also the vitamin D and calcium replacement, because these help with the bone health, with muscle health, and these are issues that these ladies go through on a daily basis. There are also other forms of management, like you talked about, the yoga, the weight loss, because studies have shown that actually ladies who are not very healthy, who are probably having abnormal BMIs, um, experience more of the vasomotor uh, postmenopausal symptoms than a lady who is like probably a good BMI. She's generally healthy. So also your health as you enter menopause also determines how far and how much of the symptoms that you have. So weight loss, uh, a, a good diet. So the nutritionists are also very important during this phase of life. Um, even so now besides that also the psychologists, the psychiatrists can also be brought on board to manage through the group therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, to actually help debunk these issues at a personal basis. So even shows like this are actually very important in the management of menopause, because like Rafi said earlier, there's that feeling that you're alone, that you're going through this by yourself, but there are many other women. By 2050, there will be 1 billion women that you
billion of
can
us.
share this with. Yeah.
They
So
better be listening.
yes.
Yeah, for me, I think the thing that is so annoying is the weight gain, because it's like you wake up in the morning and you're like, when did that appear? It's like, what's going on? It's like your body has a mind of its own, and yes, you might be doing all these things which will help to keep the symptoms under check, but it's like we need some I don't know, some miracle wand or something to deal with
Deal
the
with that.
unexplained weight gain that just pops up in the middle of nowhere. I thought that it was becoming a bit heavy with, hormone replacement therapy and non-hormonal therapy. So we did come across I call it menopause humor. And I hope our audiences will appreciate this. So, Rafi, if you don't mind, I'll read one, you read another. But it's just so that we can also, for us who are going through it, and for the people who live with us and have to live with us through the various symptoms, to not take it so seriously.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of these didn't have, they were anonymous, or the authors are unknown, but I thought they were quite hilarious because they really speak to what women are going through. And so this one is really interesting. It says, hot flushes, your body's way of saying, I'm too hot to handle. It's unknown. And I think we can all relate, because I was at a function recently and we were all laughing at each other because all the people who walked into that room holding fans were people going through menopause, the portable fan, because there are spaces you'll get into and there is no AC and maybe there is no breeze of any sort. And you can't control when the hot flash shows up. And it always shows up when you're in public. So yeah, you figure out that it's better to move with your fan, because that way you can at least try and keep cool.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I was actually waiting for a doctor's appointment one day and a hot flash came upon me and I felt like I was possessed. I stood up and roamed around the room and everyone had to move out of the way. They had to switch the fan on to calm me down, because sometimes it's really your body is on absolute fire. You feel your brain is fizzing out into nothing in your mind, and you just and
How long did that take?
I think I was in a bad state for a good 5 minutes. It was really, really intense, and at some point, the kind that should have anyone said you need help, I would like no, although I desperately needed help at that moment.
So on average, actually, it takes that time. Yeah.
Yeah, for your internal thermostat to sort of realize and
Recalibrate.
regroup, and yes, exactly. So definitely, and sometimes I feel menopause is really a test of faith and endurance, because when I have that cake, I feel so good, but I know cake is so bad for me right now, so I just don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the only thing I want is cake.
But I think we need to give ourselves grace. I mean, honestly, let's put it this way. We've lived past what used to be. I think the original life expectancy for Ugandans was something like 47 years. So I'm like, for me, it's a victory just to have crossed the 50th birthday. I don't know whether now that figure has been officially raised. We'll see with the latest census figures what it goes to. But I think it has gone up to 50 something.
Actually, for the latest WHO report, the the life expectancy in Uganda has increased to 63.6.
Wow. For women?
Okay. Well,
For
generally.
generally,
General, okay.
however, for women, it's even higher,
Yeah.
which is 70.
Wow.
Yeah, on average. So that means
Mm.
actually um, a big bulk of women will actually live close to 20 to 30 years within menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that we have to actually
Yes.
discuss about.
Well, there's time to eat cake.
So talking about cake, the one that I can know you can eat pretty guilt-free is the Green Bean, I think, cafe.
Yeah, yeah.
They have this lovely, I think it's almond and olive oil. It's like a chocolate cake, but it doesn't have all the things which are bad for you. So that's the self-indulgence if in terms of cake.
Kindly take note.
Okay, I'll take note. Almond cake.
I want cake, exactly.
I wanted to read a couple of other ones, which these ones really are more about hot flashes, but they're really funny. The other is who needs a personal heater when you can carry your own portable sauna during menopause? And I think so many people can relate to that one. If menopause had a theme song, it would be Hot Stuff by Donna Summer.
The wrong
Some of
kind
the
of hot
younger-
stuff.
Our younger listeners or viewers might not know this song, but look it up. You can, what is the thing? The app, Shazam it. Or
Shazam it,
something.
yeah.
You'll be able to find that particular one. But there are also some, I think, particularly interesting ones in terms of how far the research and the understanding of menopause has gone. I don't know, in Uganda, are you aware of any specific work that's been done? Across the world, we see, I think there's Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who is known for her work around menopause and the brain. So she has a book actually called that, Menopause and the Brain. She's a neuroscientist. And then there are a couple of other doctors. But most of them confess that, yeah, menopause was just like maybe a couple of hours in our training. Like, there isn't enough.
Actually.
And unfortunately, for menopause, specifically for African women and I think Latin American women, there isn't as much research as there is for Caucasian women. And I think Whoopi Goldberg captures it very aptly when she says, how can you keep a man erect for 19 hours and still not be able to cool down a hot flash? How is that possible? So what is the medical community doing to really get this issue in terms of, it might not be a priority for them, but we need that research, because you can't go and recommend therapies or interventions without actually first doing the research. So Dr. Matthew, I don't know if you have any ideas.
So, like you've said, actually, a lot of the figures that we quote about menopause are actually quoted from the developing countries or the more developed African countries. We have a real void in research in as far as menopause is concerned within our community. I must say I agree with Whoopi Goldberg 100%. I think she's actually disappointed in the medical fraternity that nothing much is being done for the menopause. So it's a group that has not been prioritized, a bit neglected by society and also the medical field. However, it is something with this awareness of actually the staggering figures, it's something that should be brought on board. Yeah.
Okay. I think as we get towards the end of our episode, we will just take another break to allow for a message from Mary Stopes, and then we'll be right back to bring this to a close.
Are you a woman over 45 and starting to struggle with sleepless nights, mood swings, headaches, or unexpected hot flashes? You may be moving towards menopause. This is a period in a woman's life that can last months or even years, but there is help. Speak to our empathetic and expert providers to get personalized support for your symptoms, supporting you to feel like your amazing self again. WhatsApp us today on 0707 71301 or call 0800 120 333, toll free for more information or to find your nearest clinic. Marie Stopes.
For every stage of woman.
So welcome back to our podcast, Life Uncorked, and our episode today is on menopause. With me, I have Raffy, my co-host, and we have Dr. Matthew Kagwisagye from the Marie Stopes Hospital. And we've been talking about menopause, and we've covered a lot of things. I've learnt a lot of things, but I think the most important thing that we are hearing is that it's a natural transition. You can't run away from it. They say there are only certain things in life, death and taxes. I think if you're a woman, you will go through menopause at some point. So you can't, it's not something you can escape. But we just want to create a space where people can come and talk about what it is that they feel impacts them about menopause, but also get the help they need. I think that's the resounding issue here. So, Doctor, I don't know if you can just run us through the key things that we should take away from this first episode on menopause. If you can just say, if you remember nothing else from the last, 35 minutes or so, remember these three things.
Okay. So, firstly, we need to know that, like Jackie said, menopause is a natural occurrence in life. It's a time when we're at the close of our reproductive years. We cease having our monthly periods, and it is a diagnosis that is made after. Actually, it's something clinical. It's a clinical diagnosis that is made between you and your doctor. There's no much needed to make a diagnosis of menopause. It's a clinical diagnosis. The tests that are recommended to diagnose menopause can actually turn out positive or okay, but you're menopausal. So it is a clinical symptom. It is characterized by a barrage of symptoms, spanning from vasomotor symptoms like the hot flashes, the night sweats, psychogenic symptoms like sleep disturbances, brain fog, forgetfulness, anxiety, also physical symptoms like bone pains, muscle pains, vaginal dryness, sexual dysfunction. So there's a whole lot of symptoms that a lady might go through. However, there's management for these symptoms that is available. This show us generally to demystify that actually there's treatment that is there to alleviate these symptoms. I had noted some symptoms, some medications earlier. I would recommend that you actually go to your gynecologist to have this prescribed, not to take it as hearsay from Dr. Matthew that I should go and get this medication. The medications are available, the hormonal therapy, non-hormonal therapy. There's a lot of benefit from the non-pharmacological methods of management, like the group support therapy, the cognitive behavioral therapy, weight loss programs, nutrition. So this is an area that needs a lot of research and intervention. Actually, going to those who advocate for health, I would recommend that actually more emphasis and funding should be put into this area and field.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Matthew. It's definitely been a pleasure for us to host you at the podcast, Life Uncorked, on episode 001, which is on debunking the myths and what menopause is. This is the first episode in a 2-episode series on menopause, so we shall definitely be coming back with Dr. Matthew to talk about other aspects of what to do to manage your menopause. Raffy, I don't know if you have something you'd like to say?
Well, I'll just close by saying one should really own this phase in their life. Personally, I'm proud of myself. When I look at the list of symptoms, I score so high. I'm doing really well.
You look very good.
I've got it almost all, and a couple that haven't even been mentioned. So I'm really proud of it. Surviving it all one day at a time, thanks to good friends who also help you, and the medical professionals who also guide you along the way. So thank you very much, both. Jackie, over to you.
I think I'd just like to end on. I think we need to make this a tradition that we always end with some sort of inspirational quote. And this is from Lulu Hunt Peters. She's a medical doctor. And it goes, one should remember that menopause is a normal and natural process, and it should not be dreaded. Realizing that the condition is a natural occurrence which all women experience if they live long enough, and a philosophical, calm acceptance of this fact will help lessen the nervous symptoms.
True,
So there you
100%.
go. So from us at Life Uncorked, thank you for watching our first episode. Don't forget to subscribe and share. And tell us what you want us to discuss about menopause, because we're doing the first 2 series. We can always do more, but let us know in the comments what you'd like us to talk about, and we'll surely look for the experts and the specialists. And we look forward to seeing you for episode 2. What do you say? Ciao?
Ciao.
How do we
Adios.
end? Adios. Bye.
Till next time.
Indeed.
Indeed.